Number 1, if we want to find the measure of angle 7, or if we're given the measure of angle 7 is 100 degrees. To find the measure of angle 3, we first have to identify what kind of angles are 7 and 3. 7 and 3 are alternate interior angles because they form a Z. And when the lines are parallel, alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 3 would be 100 degrees. Number 2, if the measure of angle 7 is 95 degrees, we want to find the measure of angle 6. And we see that 7 and 6 are consecutive interior angles. And consecutive interior angles are the one angle relationship where they are not congruent, they are supplementary. So if the measure of angle 7 is 95, we would take that away from 180 and we would get 85 degrees. Number 3, the measure of angle 1 is 120 degrees. Then angle 5 would also be 120 degrees because we have a set of alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Number 5, if the measure of angle 3 is 140, measure of angle 8, well 3 and 8 don't have an angle relationship. So what I would do is I would look at angle 2, which is right next to angle 3. So they would be same side interior or consecutive interior. So angle 2 would be 40 degrees because these are supplementary angles. And angle 8 would be vertical to angle 2, so they would be congruent. Number 6, if the measure of angle 4 is 30 degrees, the measure of angle 1, once again, angle 1 and angle 4 don't have an angle relationship. So what I would do is I would go to any of my other angle pairs that I know are true. And what I'm going to do is linear pair here. So I know 3 and 4 form a linear pair, and if 4 is 30 degrees, then 3 would be 150 degrees because a linear pair is supplementary. Now that I have angle 3, I know that angle 3 and angle 1 are congruent because they're corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are angles that are in the same location on different lines. So angle 1 would be congruent to angle 3, which is 150 degrees. Okay, number 1 on the bottom, we want to name the angles 1 and 2. What kind of angle relationship do they have? And angle 1 and angle 2 form a V and an A for vertical angles. And then to find the measure of angle 1 and angle 2, we have to look for another angle relationship. So the only measure we have to go off of is that this angle is 118. So I can do it two ways. I can look at angle 2 and I can say, oh, they're alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Or I can look at angle 1 and say corresponding angles are congruent because these two are corresponding to each other. So either way, angle 1 would be the same as 118 degrees, and then because of vertical angles, angle 2 would be 118 degrees as well. They would be congruent. Number 4, we want to name the angle pair relationship between x and y. So start with that. They are on the same side of the line inside the two lines. So we can call them consecutive interior angles or same side interior angles. And I'm going to start by finding x because I see that x and 81 degrees are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. If x is 81 degrees and we know that x and y are supplementary, they equal 180 degrees, then I would take 81 from 180 and I would get 99. That would give me my value for y. Number 6, same thing. What is the name between the angle pair x and y? And these two are sitting on a straight line. They form a pair of angles that sit on a straight line. That's called a linear pair. That's from last chapter. And if you have one angle that's already a right angle, that would mean that this angle is a right angle, this angle is a right angle, this angle is a right angle, this angle is a right angle. And all the angles formed by the set of parallel lines will also be right angles. So x and y will be 90 degrees each. Okay, and the last one, number 8, we're going to identify the angle pair relationship, and then we'll find x. So right here we have two angles that are in the same location, just different lines. You have the top left corner here, top left corner here. So these are corresponding angles. Corresponding means they are in corresponding positions, the same position, just on different lines. And corresponding angles are congruent, so we are going to set them equal to each other. So we would say that 3x plus 9 equals 129. The only tricky part with this equation is we're going to need to make sure we distribute the 3 to the x and the 9 before we start solving, subtracting, or multiplying anything. So 3 to the x is 3x, 3 to the 9 is 27. That's going to equal 129. Then I would subtract 27 from both sides of my equation. So I have 3x, this goes to 0, equals 102. And then I would need to divide both sides by 3. So I would get x is 34. And I definitely want to go back up and check. If I put 34 here, then I have 3 times 34, which is 102. And then I would add 9 to that, which gives me, oops, hold on, 3 times 34 plus 27 here. So it'd be 102 plus 27, which equals 129. So I know that I did it right because this angle is 129, which equals this angle, which is also 129.